Hey guys, this is probably one of the main questions that I get from all of you out there who are watching my channel so faithfully. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. This question about echolalia. Hey, my child is repeating everything I say. Kayla, how do I get him to stop? Is that normal? Is that okay? How much? Blah, blah. Lots of questions around that. Echolalia is the term that therapists use for when a child is echoing like a parrot. You say, how are you? And they say, how are you? Rather than answering the question. And if you've seen my video series on autism, what is it and what are the red flags, then you know that echolalia, that echoing, is a concern for autism. It doesn't necessarily mean that your child has autism, but it is a concern. And with other kinds of symptoms and signs, it's definitely more of a concern. So all that to say, if your child is repeating everything you say, there are two ways that I work on that as a therapist, and I'll explain them in a moment. But I also want to say that repeating, imitating is an important skill that I teach and am hoping that most of the children that I do speech therapy with actually learn to do. So if a child's not talking at all, and they're not copying anything, then my first goal is to get them to copy. When I say ball, then they say ball. That's great. That's fantastic. So every child needs to learn to copy, and it is a normal thing for children to copy, but they need to move past copying to independent speech and to understanding actual language and questions. So when you say, what is it? They say ball rather than what is it? What is it? Yeah, that's not what we're wanting. We don't want them to repeat the question. We want them to understand the question, right? So all that to say, it's normal to a certain extent, and at some point it becomes a concern. So a therapist can help you determine when that point is. So seek an evaluation if you're concerned. All right, here's how we actually would work on that as how I do as a therapist. There's two ways. I do behavioral intervention, I'll explain, and I do an explicit kind of, that's what I call it, explicit intervention. So let me explain. The behavioral intervention is if a child is past the point of just typically developing copying, and they're just copying everything now. They're maybe they have a little bit of independent speech, but they're just always copying, and it's a real concern of mine by this point. Then the behavioral intervention I would do would be to not give as much attention to their copying as when I did when it was a new skill. So when they didn't have any words and I said ball and they said ball for the first time, woohoo, that's great, yeah, ball, yeah, ball. And we have a party and we celebrate and I give it a lot of attention. But at some point when that echolalia has happened, it's not a normal thing at this point anymore, it's not a typical thing, then I would not give attention to all of those repetitions. So when I say, what is it? And the child says, what is it? Then I'm not going to give attention to that statement. I'm going to pause and I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to start with something new. Oh, look at that ball over there, right? I'm going to distract, and then I'm going to come back to the original question and help teach the answer to the question. This is very therapeutic, okay? So I don't expect parents to do that whole sequence. The gist of that is if your child's repeating all the time and it's at the point of echolalia, those echoes don't need as much attention as they did in the beginning when your child was just learning language, okay? So the party necessarily doesn't happen for all those echoes. The party happens for an independent word. The party happens for the child doing something new or answering a question correctly. So I hope that makes sense, but not giving too much attention to all of those repetitions is one way that I have been successful with. So a second way is that explicit, and this depends on the child's actual cognitive level. So if the child is understanding language high enough for this to work, and a therapist would have to help you determine this. So again, a lot of these videos that I have on my channel are geared 100% towards parents. And so this is more education for parents, not necessarily parents, please do this, because I would seriously think that this is a therapist needs to be involved in your home, in your life for these kinds of situations. So, but that explicit for you therapists out there would be telling a child who would understand at this level, oh, we say it one time, or you answer me, I say, what is it? You say, ball. Right? Okay, so actually like walking the child through the sequence, right? And if the child gets really stuck and says, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? And is doing it like over and over, then I would say one time. And when they do say it one time only, good one. That was good. It was one time. I like it, right? So praising the behavior that you like and explaining to the child at his or her level. So this really is close to 3, at least close to 3. Explaining to the child one time or no more, all done, something new, right? And moving them past into something new. So I hope that wasn't too confusing, but I did get a lot of questions about echolalia. And to summarize, if you're concerned about your child repeating things, get an evaluation. If you want some help how to get them to stop repeating things, you need a therapist involved, but those are 2 ways to give less attention to the repetitions and to explain to the child at his or her level that they say it one time. Okay guys, so if you haven't already watched those series of videos I have on autism, I've got new videos coming out weekly. Please follow me on Instagram and Facebook. If you're in California, let's connect and do a phone consultation, and maybe I can explain this further to you parents out there or you therapists out there, okay? Thanks, like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.